Chapter 6, Mishnah 1. The first three Mishnahs in this chapter discuss laws that apply to the process of sanctifying mechatas, that is, mixing ashes of the Parah with spring water. Someone was sanctifying mechatas. He dropped Parah ashes into a trough of spring water, but the ashes of sanctification fell into his hand or onto the side of the trough, and afterward fell from his hand or the side of the trough into the water in the trough. The sanctification is invalid because the ashes must be placed directly into the water by a person. These ashes fell into the water on their own. Or if ashes fell from their storage tube into the trough of water without the intent of the person holding the tube, the sanctification is invalid, since falling from a person's hand without its intent is not considered being placed there by a person. We learned in Chapter 4, Mishnah 4, that if a person performs an unrelated activity at the same time as he works with water drawn for mechatas, the water is disqualified for mechatas. Our Mishnah gives an example. If a person took Parah ashes from a storage tube with the intention of sanctifying a container of water, but before he placed the ashes in the water, he covered the tube or closed the door of the room, the ashes of sanctification that he is holding are valid, but the water that he intended to sanctify is invalid. As stated in Chapter 4, Mishnah 4, performing an unrelated activity while carrying out the Parah service disqualifies the water. It does not disqualify the ashes. The act of covering the tube or closing the door is considered an unrelated activity, and thus the water is disqualified. However, the ashes do become disqualified if one distracts his attention from them, leaving them unguarded. The Mishnah gives an example. If he, the person holding the ashes, stood the tube up on the ground before adding the ashes to the spring water, the ashes left in the tube are invalid because his attention was distracted from them. A person who is busy sanctifying mechatas cannot at the same time guard ashes that are on the ground. However, if he kept the tube in his hand while he sanctified the water with his other hand, the ashes in the tube remain valid because it is possible for him to guard the tube even while sanctifying water.